to art class. Today we are going to start talking about our dream houses. And what I want you guys to start thinking about is not only the 1 point perspective, but also to really consider what materials you're going to use. And that's the 1 point of your plan sheet we're going to discuss, is really thinking about what kinds of things can you build your house out of. Now, please remember that this is your option. Up to you. It's something that can be somewhat realistic, is what we're going for, as long as you include the details. We're going to break down the materials that we see here. You can use plenty of other ones, but really considering how to look at it and how to actually draw some of those actual materials. So grab a piece of paper, pause it if you need to, so you can take some notes. I would say you want to write one thing down per material so you know how to actually draw some of these to give you an idea for your final. So pause the video right now and go grab some paper. All right, hopefully you've gotten your paper and your pencil or writing utensil out, and we're going to start taking a look. So write down what material you see. Write down what material you see right here. What's in front of you? Okay, now, right underneath that, write down what makes this unique. How is this wood, hopefully you wrote down wood, how is this wood versus any other material? Write down how this is different than any other material. What's special? What's unique about this particular material? Excuse me. And if you're not sure, it's not a big deal, but you really want to take a look at it. Use your eyes. What's different? What is something you can draw about this that makes it special? Okay. What I'm hoping you're starting to write down and starting to see is these little lines called wood grains. Okay, you can take a look here at what I'm drawing, that it's creating these lines in the wood called wood grains. And if you were to do that on your paper, so this was your piece of paper, you would take your piece of wood and you would draw your wood grains in it. Okay. Oh boy, that looks pretty bad with this marker. You would draw the wood grains in it that you actually see. Oftentimes there's something called a knot, which you can see right here. And then you work the wood grain around it. Okay, so something unique about the wood would be the wood grain. Hopefully you wrote down maybe even something to do with the color. The color. Take a look around the room right now. There's a lot of wood in this classroom. The tables, the cabinets, those are much different wood than the wood that you see up here. It's much lighter wood, but it has those similar characteristics. Has different shades of browns. There's lighter browns, darker browns, all within these wood grains and wood. And that's one thing you're going to hear me talk a lot about, is that you should never color anything one color. This wood that you see right here on the screen has multiple shades of browns. So you should have lighter brown, darker brown, red browns, even some black in there, to create that variation, to create that texture. Okay? So hopefully you've written one thing down. Okay? One thing down at least. For this next one, please make sure you write down what material it is that you see. So what material, and here is it that you see? A lot of you should be very familiar with this material. You should be very familiar with this material. A lot of you probably have it on your houses. So write down what you think it is. Hopefully you wrote down siding or shingles. Shingles is not necessarily the correct word. These little guys right here are actually called shakes, and they go on the side of the house. Shingles go on the roof, but have a similar concept to them. What makes this unique? Write this down. What makes siding unique? How do you draw it? How is it different than, say, wood of what we looked at or any other material? How do you draw it? How is it different? You should be writing something down because you're going to be showing me this paper. And then with that, hopefully you see the specific shapes. So if we're talking about the siding first, okay, we see shapes, right? So I've got rectangles. My marker is off. Sorry, guys. We see rectangles. All right, so we see some rectangles here. That's one part of the shape. The other really important part that I want you guys to see is the way the light hits the actual object. Okay, so if you look at it, you can tell that the siding is overlapped here. So one is on top of, this one right here is on top of the other. And you can tell that by the way there's a shadow cast underneath. Take a look at the number 7 one for me. Okay, the number 7 one has the rectangle. Okay, but right here, you can see that there's a darker shade of that color. Again, so multiple colors always in your drawings. Okay, nothing is ever the same shade. So what you're going to do if you're drawing this, you've got your shingle, you've got your different rectangles to layer, you're going to start off really dark because that's where the shadow is created. So you're going to start really dark and then get lighter and lighter and lighter until it's basically your bright sun and go dark again. Again, so understand I'm doing this with the markers from Smartboard, so it's not exactly perfect, but at least it gives you some dark shadow as if it's overlapped, because where it's overlapped, you're not going to get as much sun. It's going to create that shade. Okay, so we have our shingles. The same thing is true of the shakes, which are the little pieces here. Those shakes just are drawn, but again, you have the overlap underneath, so that's where you have that shadow created, depending on where your lighting source is from. The next thing here I want you guys to see, again, you have lots of options. This one, for instance, has to do with the straw on the house. Could you build a house out of straw? Sure, why not? It's totally up to you and what you want to create. Remember, somewhat realistic, okay? Somewhat realistic. So for straw, write down, what is straw made out of? What shapes, what types of things? Obviously it's straw, but what does it look like? What is this particular area made out of? Take a look. What do you think? Write down an idea. Maybe draw a picture of how you think it might be drawn. Draw a picture. That helps. Okay. What I want you to think about now is the actual piece of straw. Piece of straw, right, is one line. To build a whole house out of straw, you need lots of little lines. So here's all my straw, right? And do I have one color here? Is it all just one pure color? No. Pick up a different color. Maybe, an orange, a yellow, a bright green, not a bright green, sorry, I'm using bright green. Orange, yellow, brown, things like that. So that it gives you the different shades of that color. But it also creates the texture, okay, of what that straw might look like. Here you've got a mud house. Again, you can do anything you want to for that material. It is totally up to you, okay? This particular thing is pretty simple, you'd think, okay? Yeah, it's brown, it's mud, but there's a lot of texture, and here's where most of my students struggle, is how do I draw the texture? Well, it looks rough. Well, that's great, but how do you draw rough? How do you draw something so that it's not smooth? Well, here's the biggest thing. You have to really think about, like I said on that siding part, where is the light coming from? Okay, so we got a very shadowy area over here. So obviously the sunshine is coming from somewhere over on this side, okay? So with the way light hitting, anywhere there's an area that sticks up and is rough, it's going to create a shadow behind it. So for instance, you've got a shadow here, and here, and here, and here. So again, you're going to basically start with your coloring and do a nice solid brown, but get some darker browns, some darker grays, even blacks, and create all of these different textures and shadows in here to give it that sense of a rough texture. Okay. Ooh, here's one of my favorite ones. Glass. How do you draw glass? Again, what are qualities we know? Write down. What are qualities of glass? Write 2 ideas down that you have. 2. So write number 1, number 2 for glass. Obviously, feel free to pause the video if you ever need more time or need to go back. Okay. I'm going to circle one of them. You might have written down. Draw another one, maybe give it an idea. Okay, why I circled and put an arrow on those, particularly the first one, the circled one. That is a reflection of what you're seeing outside. So glass is oftentimes reflective. It's actually got a ceiling in this one. That's not glass, but it's reflecting what it sees around it. The reason I drew the arrows is you can obviously see through it. So maybe your whole house isn't glass, but maybe a part of it is. Maybe you have an indoor pool that you want us to see. So you're going to draw glass. Maybe you live in a bubble under the sea, and so your house is going to be made out of glass. So guess what? We're going to be able to see inside of your house. So be prepared to draw everything that's in your house for us as well. If you want to show us some stuff in your house, feel free to draw a window for us to see inside of whatever it is. You've got a basketball court, you want a really big window so we can see the actual court and hoop and everything like that inside of your house. Okay, so we've got some different qualities. So drawing what you see inside the house, drawing reflections of what's outside of the house are also good things you want to consider. Okay, the next one. This is a fun one that I enjoy. Maybe you want to build your house out of gold. Obviously not the most efficient use of your money. However, maybe you've got lots of it and you think it'd be a lot of fun to show off your gold house. The biggest thing with gold is obviously the color. It is a gold color. However, if you look at this gold, it's not all the same color. So I'm going to have a little quiz for you here for gold. So write gold down and then write your answer when I ask you the question here. Or even draw the little box and show me. Where is the light source or sun coming from? Draw something on your paper or right on the side, right, left, top, bottom. Where is the light source coming from? Okay, gold is a very shiny material. And the way you show shine is by actually showing where the light source is coming from. So if I'm showing where the light source is coming from, okay, hopefully you've written down something. Feel free to pause it if you have not yet and need to think about it. But I'm going to go on here. Your light source is going to be coming from over in this area. Okay, and the reason I say that is the light is coming in here and you have some of your brightest spots over on this side. You're going to also see that the darker areas are on the back side or opposite side of where the light source is. So if I were using gold for my house, here's my house, right? And the sun is right here. Where is the brightest spot of gold on my house? Where is the brightest spot? Feel free to write this down, but where is the brightest spot on my house? It's going to be the area closest to the sun. The darkest area on my house is the farthest area. The most shadowed area is the farthest area from the sun or light source. So that's how you're going to create the look of shine. Okay, I have one more material to show you. This is a pretty common one, but bricks. Okay, again, this is one of those materials that people know how to draw, except when they go to do it, it often falls short because they just miss one or two major details. Write down bricks for me, and please write down one extremely important feature that you think makes brick. Again, feel free to pause to think if you need more time, but you have to write down one thing for bricks. Write down one thing. You may have noticed the way they're stacked. You may have noticed the color. You may have noticed the texture, which are all really important features. Again, let's talk color. You can notice, especially between like this area right here, that there are lots of different shades and colors within this particular brick. Again, you're going to find this anywhere, depending on the way the light's hitting it, the bricks that it's using. You're going to have variation in color. I should not see your bricks all colored one color. Another huge important part are the way that bricks are stacked. Look around my classroom right now. Look anywhere that bricks are put together. You're not going to see them stacked directly one on top of the other. It's a structural issue. It will fall over after a while. They're just not as strong, but they are staggered. You can notice that here. They are staggered. If you draw that, okay, just think of how to divide that out, okay, but they are usually staggered. The other thing hopefully you're noticing is the texture, which can be very tricky again to draw. We talked about this with the mud house, we talked about this with the straw, but texture is very difficult to draw. A lot of it has to do with light and dark and the way the light is hitting it. So look at those really dark areas, particularly like right here, or up here. That is a very rough spot in the brick. It just actually goes in kind of like a cave. And what happens there, and the reason it's so dark, is because when the sun hits this particular material, there is a divot in that area, and so it gets shadow cast. And so it's a darker shade of that color. So you'll go back through and add some texture to some of your bricks if they are a rough material, to give them that rough texture. Again, I'm using my Smartboard markers, but you would be using just a darker shade of that color. So if they're red bricks, you can use kind of a red-black color, or even some grays in there, depending on how rough your material is. Next, click on the next video to kind of talk about the plans and to understand perspective a bit more. All right, thank you.